When I worked for a division of Cablevision, I remember the first time I saw set-top box data.
Uh-huh.
It was like 2003 or so.
Yep.
When did you first see it, and what was your first reaction when you saw it?
For set-top box data, was about 2006. I had been working in digital realm with all the basic server logs from digital, and then when I got the set-top box data, I thought, boy, this is really awkward digital data. you know, but in a lot of ways, because it was a closed system as opposed to digital, which you were getting stuff from every which way that didn't make sense. Um, it was a closed system, so it was beautiful in some manner. And what I was able to do, though, was just to improve it, improve it, improve it, improve it. And so it really got beautiful, every moment captured. So, that's,
Caroline, you're really, in my opinion, one of the few true experts in set-top box data, starting early and getting really knee-deep into it. Can you talk about the process of looking at the data, what you found worked, what didn't work? Just give me an overview of what you went through.
sure. I think what worked was having a team of people, the EchoStar team that I was able to partner with. When you have large-scale data, you start seeing the stories from the data, and you can see what doesn't work. When the lines don't all move in the same direction at the same time, when they're going the wrong way, you know something's wrong. So big data is a very simple thing when you get quantitative. And then if you have people who are open to accepting that their data isn't quite right, which is a whole nother challenge, and then when you have openness to correct data and to really work at it, it gets to be beautiful. So they were very open at EchoStar and Dish, and we worked through a lot of different issues. And I think that's when we first met at SIM,
Yes,
with the
that's
SIM
right.
stuff, was trying
Yes.
to introduce those things. No data set is perfect by any means, but if you have the patience and you get roll up your sleeves, get in there, and prove to everybody what's right and what's wrong, and then agree with everybody what's the ideal, and keep moving towards that over 5, 10, 20 years, it is getting phenomenal, I think.
So in talking about some of the problems with the data, what were they and how did you overcome them?
Oh, there were a lot of them. I think simply when you have technology that's changing over time, so set-top boxes are constantly being reinvented, the functionality keeps on being increased. And the software, you have different versions that have to go forward, and as you increase the capabilities of the boxes and the storage of the boxes and the computing power, more data can be recorded. So really trying to figure out how much data can be recorded, stored, sent back, and making sure that that process is continually happening correctly. I think that was fundamentally the hardest part. DVR data, or time-shifted data, proved to be very challenging, but it was fun as soon as you figured out to lay down content time and the others at the same time, the viewing time and the content time. So you could tell where into the content you were. That specificity is important to present the information. A transaction is different on VOD. You can assume certain things, but DVR, people stop and come in, stop and come in. You really need to align where that ad is to get the right value for it.
When I was doing that work for SIM, you had mentioned something about viewing in the buffer.
Ah, yes, okay.
And, as it applies to time shifting.
Mm-hmm.
How did you, wrap your head around what is really time shifted? What are the edit rules behind it? Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's really, I didn't decide. I talked to a lot of folks, right? And that's was my general approach back then, is don't make any decision that's going to be painful for Dish or the industry as we try to get people to monetize the data or really use it. But viewing in the buffer, it was a new functionality, actually. You could rewind and you could watch the content near real time. And you had to study and look at, that was one of the great things about working with RentTrack, is that I would ask questions and they would provide me quantitative data on some of these answers. So when you see the trail off and you see the different types of behaviors within a certain amount of time, you say, okay, there are a lot of people behaving this way, and the ones who do go on to do this, the ones who don't go on to this, and you make decisions based on the statistical probabilities on that. On the buffer, I think we tested it out, 30 seconds, essentially. And as long as people were not fast forwarding through commercials, the buffer was used as a convenience. If they were purposely fast forwarding through the commercials, then that behavior had a basic dimension to it. And then you could see that was after half a minute, they were purposefully storing up a whole bunch so they could get through the commercials. And they would have to store up enough, which is about, 8 minutes for half hour?
For broadcast.
Yeah, to get through the whole position. So when you started seeing it reach into 10 minutes and then it starts going, you're like, it's pretty purposeful behavior. So that was the part on the buffer. And I think between 30 seconds and a minute, people basically forget that they've hit pause for a second to answer a call or do something else.
So would that be
Yeah.
considered still delayed viewing, or would you credit
Buffer-
it for live?
So buffer
If you held
is-
it for like a minute to take a quick
Yeah,
call.
and a minute's about, from what I've heard from many different folks, a minute is about the threshold. If it's sub-minute, then it's considered live. As soon as you go past a minute, that's purposeful, there's fast forwarding. But again, to what I said before about knowing exactly where somebody is in content, meaning content time is recorded as a delta, then you always have it right. Whether you call it live or not, you're properly attributing it to the ad.